So, folks, welcome to yet another episode from the TGV Global Speaker Series. And our guest for today is Fabienne Guichon Londholm. She's from Netherlands. She's fluent in both English and French, a global learning and development director, boasts over 30 years of international experience in the beauty, spa, and health industries, with a track record of building strong partnerships and delivering rapid growth. With a focus on high impact strategies and leadership development, they are skilled at maximizing profitability and efficiency through multicultural teamwork and problem solving. And their passion for innovation and branding, combined with strong communication and relationship skills, drives P&L outperformance and market share growth. So, as we prepare to delve into our conversation on the topic at hand, transformation cycle, here's an exciting twist. Let us tickle the brains of our guest Fabienne. So Fabienne, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. Are you ready for it?
I am ready for it. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Pleasure to have you. And here comes the first word, curiosity.
Essential.
Invention.
Invention, I'd say fun.
Future.
Future, I'd say positive.
Book.
Of course, unapologetically bold. Or if it wasn't from me, I would say The Biology of Belief.
The Biology of Belief, yeah. I started reading it a while ago and halfway through it. Yeah, that's a wonderful book. And next question is movie.
Lucy from Luc Besson.
Next is food.
I have a sweet tooth. Profiterole. Those are my favorites.
Success.
Success, I'd say determination.
Leadership.
Leadership, curiosity, I would use again.
Aliens.
Aliens. Oh wow. The first thing that comes in mind is they're not around.
And the last one is universe.
Universe. It's so incredible and fascinating.
Good one. And thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. There is one more waiting towards the end of the episode. And folks, welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series where we embark on transformative conversations. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through valuable discussions that add value not only to your life, but also to your career. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Fabienne, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. And I'm super excited to host you today. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation. I think it's always amazing to share commons, discussions, and commons essential element to move forward. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine. And let's get the ball rolling. We'll begin with your success mantra first. So please share with us the top 3 things that have attributed to your success so far.
I think one of the major elements is a quote I use all the time. And that quote is, if I don't try, I'll never know. So I've used this in my entire life, professionally and also personally, to try something new. And it is part of the way I think I've been successful. The second one, I think it's authenticity. I think even though sometimes authenticity, people have a hard time with that, and they may feel sometimes that I might be a little too forward, but it still have been a really good thing because it really is about what you see is what you get. So authenticity is one of my, I think, aspect of success. And then the third one would be more determination. I think because we have so many roadblocks on the road, and it's really easy to say, I'm going to give up. And so having determination, and it's not easy. Okay. It is not easy. And you have to, cheerlead yourself all the time. So determination is, of course, especially in my case, was a determination of success.
I love the quote that you mentioned. If I don't try, I never know. This is really profound. And thank you for sharing that. And now let's talk about your book first. unapologetically bold. So, what inspired you to write this book, Fabienne?
Okay, first of all, it's really interesting because I'm French, and my mother tongue is, of course, French. And I wrote this book in English, and it really came to me in English. And I really wanted to provide an easy recipe for people to start the process of transformation. And when I looked at my life and all what I've done professionally for the last 30 some years, and it's about a process that it needs time, but it also can be really easy. And a lot of people see change as being very complex and very difficult. And I wanted to demystify that. I wanted to bring the complex to an easy 3-step process to keep going back to and use in order to really find the best way for everyone, because anyone has a very specific component, but they don't necessarily use exactly the same thing. So it has to be a 3-step process, but a step that is customized to each person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why I wanted to do that. I've had also in my entire life, a lot of people said to me, with what you've achieved and how you've gone through your professional life, you really need to share this. And so it was kind of inspired by others. And then it was inspired also about creating that, demystifying the complexity of change.
Superb. Sounds like an exciting book, and it's going to help all the readers immensely. Now, let's talk about core of today's conversation in the context of the self-confidence. How do you define the transformation cycle? And why is it a valuable tool for young professionals looking to climb the corporate ladder?
I've learned in my entire life that self-confidence is the only foundation of moving forward. And self-confidence is extremely fragile. It gets broken down really quickly. And it's the foundation of everything. It's like you can't build a beautiful career on a foundation that is shaky. And that's why self-confidence is really important. And with that, you need resilience, of course, because self-confidence is fragile. So you need resilience to be able to keep it up at all time. And that's what the transformation cycle starts with. It starts really by finding ways to reconnect with our confidence, reconnect with who we are, and how we need to use these experiences from the past to strengthen the confidence. And that's what the transformation cycle is. It starts right there.
Wow, clear. So just to make sure that once the self-confidence, which is fragile, we need resilience to build it back. That's my key takeaway.
Yeah.
And Fabienne, can you share a personal experience or story from your 30 years in the learning and development sphere that highlights the importance of this self-confidence in one's career journey?
Yeah, I think, just to look back into my aspect in my life. I was actually trained as a beautician, and that's how I started my career, as a beautician. And I wanted more. I wanted to be an executive. I saw myself as an executive. I saw myself as providing more at coaching, teaching people. But it's difficult when you're a beautician and you don't have a university degree. And when you don't have necessary major academic background, although I was very confident and I knew I could do it, it takes a lot of time and effort. And ultimately, that's what I've learned in my journey is, academic background, university degrees, or any type of degrees are great, but it's not about them. It's what you do with them. And if you don't do anything with them, then nothing's going to happen to you. So you don't need to have them, as long as you have a pretty good picture of where you want to go, how you want to go about, and really following that dream and following that step. So ultimately, for me in my life, it's always been, okay, how can I get to the next step?
Mm-hmm.
And using, again, this transformation cycle, which I didn't know was existed until I used it and created it. But it was my concept. So anyway, in the long story, to make it short, is learning and development is kind of the last part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And self-confidence really have brought me there, along with other elements.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing your story. And now let's talk about, in general, what are some challenges or barriers that young professionals face in building and maintaining self-confidence, and how can the transformation cycle address these challenges?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, our self-confidence can be shattered in a minute. You come to work and all of a sudden you're in the meeting and you're confident enough to say something and give your opinion, and someone just shut you down right there, and it just shatters you. Then all of a sudden your self-confidence is reduced to half. And it happens quite a bit at the workspace, because in the workspace, unfortunately, it's also a lot of competition between people. The way our workspace have been set up for centuries, it's always about the strongest that win. That's the one that does the most. That's the one that gets, a front of the CEOs that are able to move forward. And it's really unfortunate, although I think it's changing, and I'm happy to see that we're starting to see much more ways of leading people that is very different. But still in the workplace, it's like a jungle. And you have to be equipped to know that these things are going to happen. You have to be prepared that someone is going to try to cut you, in pieces. And so that's what the transformation cycle does, especially the regroup component, because regroups allows you to regroup on a regular basis. Yes, it allows you to regroup as, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to find ways to make that change. But regroup is also something that you can do in a particular meeting I just mentioned. When someone shatters you into a million pieces, you just can, in your head, go back and say, okay, I need to regroup. How do I put my, information forward where I can make sure they understand what I'm trying to do? I don't want to be defensive, but I don't want to also all of a sudden be melting under the table. So the transformation cycle between the three phases, regroup, relive, and remotion, these three allows you to be used either on the spot or used into planning something. And that's what it's actually very easy to use and really fun once you have that in your pocket, because you can always go back to say, okay, I just need to regroup. Oh no, I need to relive, and so go back and forth between the phases helps out to build that self-confidence and resilience.
Wow. Now let's dive into the resilience part. Like, I think you have mentioned that self-confidence plays a critical role, and resilience is going to help you when self-confidence gets broken, right? So why do you think this resilience is an essential trait for success in the corporate world?
Well, it's definitely part of the sauce, that's for sure. So I think resilience is, again, a must-have. And again, it is something that also can be tiring to be resilient. You're exhausted after a day of work, especially if you are in a very difficult, hostile environment at work. But that is what's going to help you to keep your head up and to, make you move forward and keep having that step going forward. So it's really a great importance, but also it's also important to know when your resilience is a little down, and that it's okay to be down, because we're not machines and we are humans. And sometimes we have feelings and we have to acknowledge these feelings. And I think sometimes it's exhausting to be resilient and to come home and to feel a little bit vulnerable and to let our guard down and just to kind of accept the fact that my resilience is a little down right now is okay. We can take a few hours to replenish and find new energy to really get back on being resilient again. So it's not something that is always there again, it's something that we have to cultivate. And cultivation comes with doing other things on the outside or even at work to cultivate this resilience, because it can actually be cultivated in a team too.
Super. I'm loving this conversation. And Fabienne, let's move forward and talk about some of the most overlooked or misunderstood aspects of self-confidence, and how can young professionals avoid these pitfalls as they climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah, so the misunderstanding often is that some people still believe that self-confidence, you're born with it, which actually you're not. That is something we learn as we go along. And, again, going back to the book of the biology of belief, there's a lot of elements in there that tells you how your beliefs are being built. And that all happened between the age of 1 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of elements there. And so you're never born with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's a lot of elements of self-confidence that are created during these first 6 years of our lives. And, again, it is something that is up and down. So we have to cultivate on a regular basis as much as we cultivate resilience. We have to cultivate self-confidence, but they go hand in hand. And I think, sometime when we spend a little bit more time cultivating one or the other, we will bring each of these elements together into a much more, competent elements to work with each other. So I think that's what people believe. And I think, again, it's all about cultivating and finding ways to keep it up. So how do you keep it up? I think I found that affirmation are really a great tool, and it's something you can do on the spot. Again, you can do it every morning by finding sentences and special affirmation. And I use affirmation all the time. Actually, on my Instagram account, there is a whole wall of affirmation for people to use, because they're so easy to use and they're really powerful. And so when you are at work and you're feeling attacked or you're feeling down or you're feeling like you're not yourself, you can take that 30 seconds and in your head and go back in your thinking and say, no, I am confident. No, I am brilliant. I am the person I need to be. I am enough. All of these things helps all of us to feel better. So I think affirmation is a really quick, little, easy tool to use, even at the workplace.
Superb. And we have had an amazing conversation so far, and it's time for us to add some excitement by kicking off the second rapid fire round. If you're okay, I'll ask you a few intriguing questions. Shall you do it? Okay, comes the first bullet out of the second rapid fire round. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
I think I'm going to go back to my title. It's always like, be ready to be unapologetically bold. That's what I would say.
Superb. And what is one thing that you wish you were good at, okay, which probably you are not so good right now?
I've never been good at being patient. I have no patience whatsoever. And I wish I had more so I could be a better listener, because listening comes with patience. And those are the two things I really need to work on.
Mm-hmm. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
Okay, going back to the book, bold.
Okay. So, Fabienne, what is your favorite thing about living in the current times, the exciting 21st century?
Oh, yeah, AI. I just find it super exciting, this whole AI and how to make it work for us.
Okay. And what is one thing that has majorly changed after COVID in your life?
I think hybrid work,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. That, and this is something I absolutely love. Hybrid work is perfect.
Perfect. And last one for rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Well, I would never invent that, but I would love to have a tool that does space travel so we can go forward or backward all the time and check our feelings.
Yeah, I think it is going to become a reality very soon. Affordable reality. Of course, it is already affordable by the rich, filthy rich people. I think people like you and me might also get a chance for sure. And
I don't think so.
that's a great rapid fire. With that, let's flip back to the mainstream. And you mentioned about affirmations. Okay, when it comes to the practical advice, okay, wherein somebody can start building their confidence. Other than that, is there any other practical advice or exercises from your book that our listeners can implement to start building their self confidence today?
Yeah, actually, in the book, there every single chapter at the end, there is an activity where people can answer questions and write them down. So even if you have the electronic copy, you can, use it on the tablet, and you can actually write the answer. So it allows you to do some reflection. So that's one of the things I wanted to make sure is after each elements regroup, relive, remotion, people would be able to actually have reflection time. The other thing I did with this book is, and I followed my son's advice. He said most young people don't have the attention span to read a
Yeah.
book, so make it really easy. So what I did is that all the chapters are very short, and even each within the chapter, each components are about I'd say 10 to 15-minute read. So you
Oh,
can
wow.
put it down and reflect on it. So it's really easy for someone that have 10 to 15 minutes attention span to just read part, put it down, reflect, and move on. So it's really easy to use that way. And then I talk a lot about, visualization, also, affirmation, as I said, and many other elements that can be available. So it's also a practical book.
Good one. And for those of you who have tuned into the episode, you'll find the link to Fabienne's book, her website, and LinkedIn profile, everything in the show notes or the episode description. So go ahead and grab a copy of her book. And Fabienne, I loved every bit of this conversation. And how is your experience being hosted on The Guiding Voice?
It was wonderful. I love it. It was great. Really fun to discuss all of the deeper element, but I do love your rapid fire questions. I think they make you think a little bit outside of the box. And it also is really great because it allowed to be a little bit more creative and to think through. So thank you. It was great. Great experience. Definitely recommend.
All right. Thank you so much for the kind words. And also, thank you for joining me by taking valuable time out of your busy schedule. And thank you for sharing amazing insights with our audience. And definitely, I'm going to invite you again in the future and have a great time ahead. Wish you all the best on everything that you do, Fabian.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward for another guiding voice. We can go more in depth with team.
Absolutely. Let's do
Thank
it in
you.
future. Thank you once again. So, folks, that was our episode with Fabian. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. If you haven't already subscribed to The Guiding Voice podcast, please subscribe from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes. And also, if you have enjoyed this conversation and found it useful, please share with at least three of your friends or colleagues who would also like The Guiding Voice. So, spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now let's cruise into the trivia segment of today's episode. So today we had amazing conversation about self-confidence, resilience, transformation cycle. I thought I would compliment you with a bit more information around self confidence. First one is about self confidence and academic performance. Research has shown that self confidence can significantly impact academic performance. And students with higher self confidence tend to achieve better grades. And in a study published in the Journal of Educational Psychology, students with high confidence scored an average of 70 points higher on their SAT exams than their less confident peers. So, self confidence is very, very important. And if you want to enhance your self confidence, go and read Fabienne's book. Second one is gender disparities in self confidence. There is an intriguing gender difference in self confidence, and a study conducted by KPMG found that women tend to underestimate their abilities, with 67% of women expressing self doubt compared to just 48% of men. So, this difference in self confidence can influence career advancement and also decision making. And third is the confidence gap over time. As individuals age, their self confidence tends to fluctuate. And according to a study published in the Psychological Bulletin, self confidence typically follows a U shaped trajectory over a person's lifespan, with the highest levels in the youth, a dip in the midlife, and a gradual increase in the later years. And this suggests that self confidence evolves and matures as people age. So that's it from my side on the self confidence side. In case if you have any interesting facts or tips related to self confidence, keep them coming. You can comment on social media platforms, or if you are watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there as well. So thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV community. Folks, we would love to hear from you. So do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, topic recommendations, and guest speaker suggestions either through our social media platforms, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com, and let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life but also your career. And until next time, take care and stay inspired. And remember, the future holds great things because the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Bye bye.